Good afternoon. I don't know if I like doing this. Welcome to Chateau de Razac. My name is John and I have recently purchased this beautiful chateau estate in the Dordogne. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is John. I am the new owner of Château de Razac. My family and I have taken on this project to restore this wonderful chateau. A little bit about me. I am a medical herbalist and nutritional therapist, also known as a naturopath. I practice in Jersey in the Channel Islands and have decided to take on this project. As well as being a naturopath, I have previously worked in the town and country planning field and have a passion for historic buildings. This is what's led me to trying to combine both naturopathy and historic buildings into one project. And Château de Razac will not only have me supporting it all the way to its full restoration, a variety of friends and family who are qualified in historic buildings, ecology and the natural environment to assist me in restoring not only the chateau but the chateau grounds and gardens into something that I hope we will be very proud of and that the local community will also see as a benefit to the area known as the Dordogne. A little bit about my family. We come from Jersey in the Channel Islands and we have French descent through my mother's side of the family. And about 4 years ago I set off for a French adventure to look for a property that we could eventually call home. We registered with various estate agents across France. We had a rough idea of where we wanted to be. The first estate agent that we met and gave our brief to brought us to Château de Razac. In July 2020 I ventured down here with my 2 children and my ex-wife to have a look at the chateau, and although it ticked all the boxes, the renovation of Château de Razac was greater than what we expected. Our estate agent at the time said to us, "I think you should come and have a look because she does give you everything you want. However, you're going to need to give her a little bit more back in return." So we took the ferry from Jersey and drove 6 hours down to the Dordogne to meet Dawn, who took us around this beautiful estate. When we were coming down the drive, I immediately fell in love. My passion for historic buildings is something that has been with me from a very young age. And I remember coming down the driveway and my ex-wife saying to me, "If there's a property out there for you, it's this one here." The drive in itself was a couple of minutes long and it led me to a beautiful rundown chateau that we now know and can call home. We walked around the estate, we understood the building's footprint, we understood how it sits within the landscape, but it's high on a hilltop with the land falling down, and we started to hear little snippets of the building's history. I understood that the building hadn't really been loved for a period of time and had gone through a succession of owners who may have done small amounts of work, completing sections at a time. The winters down in the Dordogne are mild, but this is a very wet area. And sorry, that's just one of the rickety old shutters blowing in the wind. We came here, we looked around the site, we walked through the chateau and I immediately fell in love. We then were taken to the manor house and the various cottages, the outbuildings, and we walked around the land. We understood immediately that this was a mammoth task, and it was something that on my first visit I was like, this is a lot, and I'm not sure if I've got it in me. Deep down, I knew I did, but the timing just wasn't right for us. I initially registered with an estate agent because many people told me that it would take 3 to 4 years before you actually found your true chateau or the property of your dreams. Coming down this estate, I fell in love with him immediately, but I knew that I needed to venture through and see other properties, other areas, and also at that point my French nationality application was in the process, so I didn't also want to take a property on that maybe I couldn't eventually long-term live in it full-time. So it was a great experience to come down to Château de Razac, and it was the start of our journey for searching for a property. We came back from Jersey and COVID hit and we went into quarantine. So from that time onwards, life changed and my French nationality application was halted because of the processing times due to COVID. We then took some time out and I thought to myself, it just needs to stop because life had to continue at home. It took us to 2022 before we started looking for other properties, and my sons and I would come over, even friends would come over with me, we would look at certain properties, I'd drive up to them, think no, it's not got this, it hasn't got that, so on and so forth. It didn't have the element of privacy that I wanted out of a property. I think we must have seen around about 15 to 18 properties over the last 3 years. It wasn't until July last year when I decided to start looking back on the websites more formally and noticed that Château de Razac had come back on the market. When I saw it originally in 2020, the property soon was taken off the market and it had a potential buyer. This process had happened for maybe 2 or 3 times with different people looking at the property, thinking that they would take it on board and then pulling out. The property was offered in various different lots as well, so you could buy the chateau, maybe the manor and some of the outbuildings, some of the cottages were offered separately. So when I discovered that the chateau was back on the Leggett Immobilier website, I contacted the estate agent who had changed. It had changed it over to Lisa, who sold us the property. And I decided to come down and meet Lisa on site. And that was in July 2023. Lisa very kindly showed us around. We enjoyed her company. She knew more information about the building. And we then decided to start to look at the building in a closer concept, getting quotes for roofs, quotes for windows, various electrical and plumbing quotations, just to give us a rough idea of how much we would be spending on the site over a 5 to 10 year period. We got to September last year and then we had a phone call from Lisa to say somebody had placed an offer and that offer had been accepted. That was one of those situations where you have to let fate do its thing, and I decided that obviously it wasn't meant to be. We left it as it was, and then in January of this year I had a phone call from Lisa to say that the sale had fallen through and would we still be interested. I have various ideas for the chateau and how we can perhaps run a business from here to assist with the regeneration and the restoration of the site. We have various ideas for the site, and this site, the way it's built and it's laid out, has enough space between each of the buildings to be very diverse. And anyone that knows me will understand my ability to be very creative in the ideas that I have and usually pull things off quite well. We decided to arrange a meeting with the local planning department and the mairie to see if our proposal would fit the local town and whether we would gain permission for a variety of permissions with the view to restoring the whole estate over the next 10 years. It took us until March before we could arrange this meeting, and we had a very favourable time. I was told that the meeting was only going to be a couple of people, and I remember walking in with my very broken French and presenting a case of renovation, but not only the renovation, but with various elements of business proposals for the site. We realised then, on that day, that Château de Razac actually was very close to the town's heart, and although it's out of the town of Thiviers, the local community have very fond memories of one of the previous owners who invited the commune to various events and so on and so forth here, and he would often do things around Christmas time. It was very, very clear that there were a lot of people involved with what Chateau de Razac once was and the state that it is in today. We had this meeting and I was bringing together these various quotations, and then another person came in and placed an offer which was accepted. At this point I was pretty gutted, as I had invested much more time on the site, coming backwards and forwards from the island to measure up, to do drawings, to take photographs, to meet with the water board, so on and so forth, and various roofers. However, I had to take that step back. Somebody's offer had been accepted and Chateau de Razac was not meant to be at that moment. Fast forward 6 weeks, we get another phone call from Lisa to say the sale had fallen through and whether we would still be interested. And I did say yes at this point, but I said I also needed some time to bring everything I'd collated together. She gave us that time, and so did the owner. So that meant I could bring everything together, I could formulate quotations and have a real understanding of whether this was financially viable for us to do or not. During this time we had, in our visits, we did see a few other properties. Nothing came close to Chateau de Razac, with its exclusivity and the variety of outbuildings, the quantity of land, the amazing views and landscape that it sits on. The list goes on. We then placed an offer which was accepted, and here we are now at Chateau de Razac, trying to formulate a schedule of works. We know and understand that for this building to be viable, we have to do the renovation slowly, and we need to bring on various other buildings that can potentially earn income to put back into the pot so that we can do the final renovations on the actual chateau. The main roof of the chateau needs fully re-roofing. The structure of the roof of the chateau is in not too bad condition. However, the roof material needs full replacing. We believe and understand perhaps in the last 40 or 50 years this wing here, this section here was re-roofed, but re-roofed with old tiles. Those tiles would have been used so that the building kept its authenticity. However, they've since lost, due to age, they have deteriorated and they now need full replacement. The tower here to the right of me, the previous owner re-roofed the tower and the turret at the front of the property about 7 years ago. So the roof is good there. However, there was a lot of water ingress before it was re-roofed. Therefore, the inside of that section needs to have a full renovation. We have a 19th century wing we have a 17th century wing, and then we have this section in the middle, which is 16th century. The 16th century is in need of re-roofing, and the 19th century is in need of some major repairs with the view to re-roofing it in the next 8 to 10 years. The electricity was installed, we believe, in the 70s. However, it's deteriorated greatly, and the whole chateau will need rewiring at some point in the future. For the moment, my main concentration here is to preserve the building. So we have employed a roofer who is going to come in. He is English. He's worked in the area for the last 20 years and specialises with buildings like Château de Razac. His wealth of knowledge and understanding of what we need to do to bring Château de Razac back to life is second to none, and anybody in the area who is looking for a roofer will recommend this chap, and if you can get him, you're told to hold on to him. So Richard will be on site to do some temporary repairs. His schedule is about 12 to 18 months for major works. So our intention here is to do some temporary works to stop the major leaks that are happening especially in the 19th century wing, because there's internal damage on the woodwork and various other water ingress areas that have caused damage. So we want to we want to stop that from happening. There's just above me there is a gully that is leaking. So before winter he will be coming in to sort those things out and to patch up some of the dodgy tiles, whilst we work with the Bâtiment de France to gain planning consent for the new roof covering to be installed. We hope that Richard will be able to do this in next year, certainly within the next 18 months.